Hello everyone. Welcome to BritCham Marketing Information Webinar in association with Shipper Indonesia, the role of 4PL in reshaping supply chain. Also welcome to our speakers who will be more formally introduced to you by our moderator today, Wilson Andrew, the Senior Manager of External Affairs at Shipper Indonesia. A quick house rules before we begin. Please be informed that this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be shared when it is available. All participants will be muted to avoid background noises and to enable our speakers to present without interruption. Last but not least, if you have any question, please type them into the Q&A box at any time. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand the screen over to Chris Van, the Executive Director of BritCham Indonesia, to start his opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Asti and Fira. Very good afternoon to those of you who are in our Asia time zone. I do believe there are a couple of people also come in from the UK as well, so a very good morning to you. We are delighted to, on this occasion, be welcoming Shipper Indonesia to our marketing information webinar platform. Shipper themselves is one of those companies that has joined the BritCham webinar series. We've made over 80, I believe, since March last year, since the transformation to the digital format for sharing information, sharing intelligence, and giving you an opportunity to keep in touch with thought leadership. So welcome, Shipper. This particular webinar is about the role of 4PL in reshaping supply chain. I think we've an idea what all this is about. Businesses have been forced to accelerate any digitization plans that they may have had. And not just businesses, companies also, rather consumers also are forcing businesses to change how they think. They want things delivered to more places, more countries. They want things delivered faster in greater quantity than ever before. So it's very, very important that the logistics industry is ready to respond to the demand of consumers, because that response represents seizing the opportunity. So as we say, the world has been rapidly changing in terms of digitizations, and logistics not least. It was only a few days ago I was talking to one of our members that's involved in shipping, and talking about how in the space of 2.5 years the landscape of shipping has changed, partly due to an accident in the Suez, partly due to COVID, and partly due to simply changing habits of how goods are shipped and move around the world. I don't wish to say too much more about this particular opportunity, except the fact that we are welcoming businesses and both domestic and international firms that recognize the importance of logistics, and particularly the importance in a country the size of Indonesia, where actually something as simple as moving goods from place A to place B is not necessarily as simple as it seems. With that, I'd just like to thank those of you who have joined us this afternoon. Once again, thank Shipper Indonesia for partnering with BritCham in this marketing information webinar. I'm sure there'll be some great output. Do participate actively in the Q&A, and I'll hand you over to Wilson Andrew. Wilson.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the opening remarks. So I think everyone is really excited. So hello again, everyone. Good afternoon for people in Jakarta, and yeah, again, good morning for people who's connecting from the UK. My name is Wilson. I'm heading the External Affairs function in Shipper, and I will be moderating the session today. So as Chris said that, just want to add a little bit on that, because as we all know, customers are becoming more demanding, right? More than ever. But then what we see is that a lot of technology and innovation is also growing rapidly. So there's a real opportunity how business can survive and also strive in this digital era. So this is where we want to kind of share best practices and also have some discussion on how companies can provide more added value, while at the same time also explore innovative ways to reduce costs, yeah, in this particular topic in the area of supply chain to win the competition. So having said that, we are grateful to have Pak Okin and his colleague Pak Hari, who are both logistics experts and also professional practitioners with extensive knowledge and also experience in this field. So they both sit on the board of expert at the Indonesian Logistic Associations. But unfortunately, Pak Okin can only stay for a brief with us due to some urgent matters, but Pak Hari will help to deliver the presentations. And it will be then continued with Rama, my colleague, Shippers SVP Commercial, who will take us through from the lens of how a 4PL can support businesses. So we will use a good half of an hour to hear their perspectives. And we can spend the next half an hour for Q&A and discussions. So without further ado, let's kick off today's sessions. I'd like for Pak Okin to share a few words and then continue with Pak Hari. Over to you, Pak Okin.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Wilson. Yeah, and also thank you very much, Pak Chris Warrens, for opening speech talking about digitalization and customer required, and also Pak Rama. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Shipper and BritCham webinar today. I am Okin Purba, Board of Experts from Indonesian Logistic Association, Indonesia called Ali, and also a commissioner at Co-Solution Consulting. Okay, as said by Pak Wilson, actually I'm still in the middle of the meeting in Nusa Dua Bali, yeah, but it's okay. It's my pleasure to be here, and I will be one of your speaker and Mr. Harry Purwoko for the webinar today. And our topic is very, very interesting, you know, for this session. It's talking about the role of 4PL in reshaping supply chains. Okay, in the pandemic situation right now, as you know, businesses all over the world face increasing pressure in their supply chains. That's why we need a strong solution to help company achieve new level of unique capability, technology, productivity, and visibility. And as you know as well, that supply chain always discussing about the how to optimize the 4 key flows in supply chain: product flow, information flow, financial flow, and reverse flow. Is talking about how to make the quality of product service, but at the same time reduce costing. Right, there are many processes in supply chain. By combining processes, technology as IoT, big data, AI, cloud, in manufacturing, packaging, transportation, warehousing, distribution to end customers. We need something new, such as let's say LSV, that can cover end-to-end the flow of product, information, financial, and reverse product under one roof, bundling. Even this more advanced LSP, or maybe we can call it 4PL, that can manage other third-party logistic, which result in high cost effective and can instantly improve operational and financial efficiency at the same time. In doing so, it can help business owner lower cost and improve supply chain performance. If you own a business such as manufacturing principal brand owner, you have a good product and even a commerce business, and still haven't decided whether your company should partner with to deliver your product to the market, you have come to the right place, I think, right now to follow this webinar. It will be sharing about the Indonesian logistics market as Mr. Hari will show to you, and the much more important information as well as the reason why your business should consider using a 4PL. And maybe not much of us know about the 4PL, but 4PL can manage suppliers, stakeholders, clients, and 3PLs as well. And why business should consider using 4PL and how it could help business. And now exactly the answer, the role of 4PL in reshaping supply chains. My partner, Mr. Harry Purwoko, as one of the board of expert Ali, and also Director Go Solution will add our presentation to make even better. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And Mr. Hari, the mic is over to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Vincent. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Okin. Let me continue with the presentation. Yeah, first of all, good afternoon, everybody, and I thank you very much for the opportunity given to me by Shipper and BritCham, yeah, to take this valuable part to share about the current situation, current updated supply chain with all of you. Yeah, I and Pak Okin have been quite long together, yeah, and we form a consultant business called Go Solutions. Okay, let me start with the presentation. This is the role of the 4PL in reshaping supply chain, preparing by Alex actually. Okay, I don't want to tell more about myself. You can see that, and you can also explore in the LinkedIn to see my background and my CV. But currently, besides forming a management consultant Go Solution, I have still also that working in the freight forwarding in Jakarta. I also a director of Sembada Pratama School for Supply Chain and director of Go Solutions. I got the CSLP, Certified Supply Chain Logistic Professional from IOTS Japan together with Pak Okin in 2009, and also SLOC, European Senior Logistician from European Logistic Association, ELA, just last year. Okay, this is our topic for today, for the afternoon, is to talk about understanding logistic and supply chain in Indonesia, follow it with the logistic challenge until 2024, and the role of 4PL, and close with the conclusion. Okay, this is initial logistic at a glance. Yeah, as an archipelago, a country with more than 70,000 islands in 34 provinces, Indonesia has the second, we may say the second largest longest beach line in the world. Yeah, so what a wonderful maritime country actually, Indonesia. Yeah, given such geography, Indonesia has the most difficult logistic management and arrangement in the world, I may say. Yeah. Despite the compounded annual growth rate 7.9% in logistics, we are facing great challenges until now, such as the high logistic costs, imbalance of goods from west to east or vice versa, and relatively bad rank in logistic performance index released by World Bank in 2018. Yeah, World Bank has not yet released the latest one because of the pandemic. The LPI, or Logistic Performance Index, has the 6 key drivers, key dimension as the measurements. One is the clearance process, second is infrastructure, competitive price, quality of logistic services, track and trace system, and shipment timeliness. Yeah, so look at the 6 parameters stated by World Bank. We need to we have a lot of work in Indonesia to improve our human resources, to improve our system. And thanks to Shipper that has catch up, yeah, that opportunity beforehand. Yeah, this will show the map of the logistic activities. I say not only in Indonesia, but I guess it's most of the countries around the world have this kind of logistic patterns. Yeah. Look at this. Let me change to laser pointer. We divided into 3 big columns: the cross-border logistics, domestic logistics, and trade logistics. Those are 3 major logistic activities in the world. Yeah. Each of the cross-border logistic and domestic logistic are divided into 2: asset-based and non-asset-based. Yeah, depending on the player itself. Yeah, mostly people player from outside. Yeah, from the other countries coming to Indonesia, they are non-asset-based. But the player in Indonesia usually they start as the asset-based company. Okay, look at it. Look at this, and at the bottom, asset and non-asset based company. And at the row, you see the multimodal transportation, or the transportation mode used by its activities in logistics. Take, for instance, air freight like this. Yeah, in the cross-border logistic, we have a so-called aircraft operators with the international route, while in the non-asset, it is handled by freight forwarder. So similar, you can see from the logistic domestic, and then the sea freight, railway, intercity trucking, and so on. Yeah, and on the bottom, you can see there are some functional support, yeah, that will enhance all of these activities running well, like the custom clearance process, yeah, that will help the export and import for the cross-border activities, as well as courier and postal that will deliver the document required by the export and import. And also, needless to say, how important is the role of the port operator, airport operator, area supporting services like warehouses, consolidation, break bulk, and so on. Well, for, in the domestic logistic, pretty much supported with intra-city tracking, courier postal, and also warehouse management. Yeah. And on the right-hand side, you can see the trade logistic that divided into two: modern trade and traditional trade or general trade. Yeah, in Indonesia, most of the retailers are still in here in this area because of the archipelagos and so many islands and so many provinces that need to be reached. Yeah, therefore, logistics in Indonesia is very expensive. Yeah, because currently, SE Nielsen has covered around 2 or more million outlets around Indonesia that must be covered. Yeah, can you imagine how big is that? Okay, I continue. Yeah, this is the NLE. Yeah, the NLE government has started to push this kind of initiative called National Logistic Ecosystem. Yeah, we began firstly in Tanjung Priok Port. Yeah, Tanjung Priok is the biggest port for export import, actually for inbound and outbound. And NLE will gather all stakeholders that contribute a lot to export and import process in single platform, such as custom offices, port authorities, shipping lines, BPOM, quarantine, surveyor, banks, shippers, consignees, forwarding agents, transporter, and etc. And this will accelerate the export-import process, reduce the dwelling time as well as the logistic costs. And as to some extent, you can lengthen the mid-mile and the last-mile activities using the NLE platform. Okay, let us go back a little bit to see how logistic and supply chain evolve. Yeah, the discipline of logistics started in 60s as the fragmented activities that become some major topic or some major subject in school or education. Yeah, that is logistic management. Yeah, entering 80s, some activities were grouped together due to the similar characteristic, such as demand forecasting, purchasing, planning, inventory, and so on, are grouped into material management. Yeah, and all of this physical distribution or movement are grouped together into logistic management in 90s. Yeah, we call it as a functional integration because of all of this function. We may call it as the logistic. And the terminology supply chain just occurred lately, yeah, in 200 something. Just new and just introduced to separate non-physical distribution with supporting and strategical function, such as marketing, IT, HR, strategy management, yeah, strategy planning, and so on, yeah, that enable the logistic activities run well. And all of this concept emerged to the other logistic specialization, yeah, like port management, container management, industrial asset management, and so on. Yeah, you can see on the right-hand side of this chart. Right, we continue with the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Yeah, I'm not going to elaborate more about this. Yeah, maybe all you guys already know about the Industry 4.0 that is proclaimed or firstly declared by Klaus Schwab in the World Economic Forum. Yeah, this will change the way supply chain and logistics run. Yeah, mostly likely we cannot avoid the digitalization right now. Yeah, of these aspects. And then how do we win the competition and supply chain? Yeah, you may see in the left circle reveals how we need to be agile to accommodate the customer need, yeah, so that we may add value to our customers. Yeah, but it's kind of trade-off with the right hand, the right circle that shows the lean concept. Yeah, to streamline the process to be more efficient without sacrificing the effectiveness, thus reducing our costs. Yeah, so these two things must be under our consideration in order that we can smoothly run our logistic and supply chain activities. In one side, we need to meet customer needs, customer requirements. We need to have a customer satisfaction as high as possible, but the other hand, we are pushed with the production cost. We are pushed with the logistic cost. So we need to be balanced with those two things in order that we can win the competition. Okay, next, this is some hot issue that we are facing right now. Like digitalization, of course, we cannot avoid this. And also important is the people, competency, and certification. Because right now, this is a very big homework for us in university, that how to equip the college student, not only with the knowledge about the supply chain, but how they are able to use the system, how they are able to be more internet minded. It's not that easy because they are just using the social media as their daily activities, but somehow they don't know how to link this one and other one. So this is very important in our university, because I and Okin also teach in the ITL Trisakti in supply chain. So we need to push our student to more understand about this. And of course, we are still got a very big problem with the COVID-19 recovery. Even though in Jakarta, in Indonesia, I mean, the rate of infection is getting lower and lower. That's good, but we cannot avoid our dependency on other countries. For instance, like Singapore's rate of infection now getting increased, and then we need to wait until they improve. We need to wait until they recover, before we can do some export and import with those two countries. Okay, this is, and then the disruptive, long before COVID-19. World has experienced disruptive in all aspects, shown by many major retailers closed around the world, closure of the hotels due to the Airbnb, rise of e-commerce, e-payment, and so on and so on. And supply chains plays a very important role due to the globalization and offshore facilities to the lower wages countries, and is pretty much assisted by internet. Thanks to internet that can make this happen very, very smoothly. The era of automation develops and grows rapidly. Or maybe this is the end of Kaizen era. We don't need Kaizen anymore because internet has done its part to replace that. Look at this picture where from point to point is digitalized and all systems are visible, traceable, and getting smarter by themselves. This is IoT. What's happening in the new era, new normal? Of course, this is a new direction of logistics and supply chain. Thanks to COVID-19, I mean, so that forces us to be more paperless, to be more efficient, to be more contactless, more cashless payment. Because of the COVID-19, this is one of the homework in Indonesia, because the logistic cost getting higher and higher because of so many contact between people and people. Therefore, due to the COVID, everything is now getting getting smoother. I recall the old days, when our people, our team must queue you at the shipping line office early in the morning to get ticket for redeeming delivery order. He must carry cash money in the bag. Since shipping line urged cash payment, you can imagine that. He then came back to the office late in the afternoon, where the other team waited for him to exchange with the other document in the evening, just to release the container. And this happens for years. Needless to say, the process in the custom offices and ports. Nowadays, we are forced to change our corporate strategy and business model to be coping with the implementation of new business systems such as AI, IoT, and so on. Okay, now we move to the role of the 4PL in logistic industry. Look at this chart, the pyramid of the LSP on the right-hand side. On the very top, we see the first PL, which is the role of cargo owners. They simply operate their own logistic division like truck and warehouse. For example, one of the pharmaceutical company, Tempo Group, has Tempo Logistic just to handle its own logistic activities. Retailer Indomaret has its own Indomarco, yeah, to distribute all the merchandise. Followed with the 2PL or second party logistic is normally an asset-based company, yeah, that have their own vehicles and buildings. For example, a shipping line that that operate its own trucking division to easily carry back its own empty containers to the vessel. For example, Maersk, yeah, that has Maersk Logistic. And then the third-party logistic are usually non-asset-based company that use other party logistic capabilities to run their logistic activities. This company, yeah, will handle all logistic activities as per customers' requirement and simply outsources to the other parties. Yeah, in this case to the P2PL. Yeah, so the job that we hear that 3PL can do everything you want. Yeah, and then this is the latest and the advanced one, the 4PL. That manages some 3PL under the control. Yeah, this type of company urges to have more capability in terms of high-end computer systems and high caliber people to execute. Yeah, many global players that previously in 3PL position evolved themselves to be 4PL due to their capabilities such as DHL, KODs, UPS, etc. Yeah, for easily doing this, they form what is called control tower. Yeah, to manage all the 3PL here. Again, for the long run, 4PL will be expanding to be the platform for the whole logistic activities and stakeholders. Yeah, from the upstreams to the downstreams, from the edge of the producers to the end of the end users. And this collaboration will be viewed under a control tower operated by the 4PL. Okay, and as a conclusion, supply chain 4.0 has been transforming its model from pipeline as the traditional supply chain. Pipeline is from one point to other point to platform, yeah, integrated supply chain ecosystem. So they don't see the pipeline from one point to other point, but sometimes to go across the line, yeah. And current trend is that all players, including manufacturers, distributors, retailers, logistic service provider, transform themselves in such a way to grow through a single channel, multi-channel, and omni-channel. We just meet a new client, yeah, with Pak Okin that is willing to transform himself from a single retailer to omni-channel retailer. Okay, and this is my end, the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I give back to Pak Wilson. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pak Harry. I mean, it's very interesting to see the concept and how the digitalization can kind of reshape and change the overall landscape. So there's also some questions, but we'll go over it later on. So I would encourage the other participant also, whatever question that you have, you can type it in the box and then we can answer it together with the speakers. Now, let's go over to Rama to share your materials, Rama.
Thanks, Wilson. And thank you for Chris, Harry, as well as BritCham for setting this up and co-hosting everything with us. Let me share my screen 1 minute. Can you please let me know when you see my screen, Wilson?
Yep, we can see it, and maybe you can use put the presentation. Yep.
Okay. So thank you again, everyone, for being here. Not going to talk too much about myself. I'm currently the Senior Vice President of Commercial at Shipper. So I oversee all of Shipper's revenue generation operations and the teams regarding that within the company. So actually, Harry explained this in relative detail on what a 4PL is. But let me cover a little bit more here. Again, I think the role of a 4PL is to serve as a single point of contact for any client, company, or manufacturer who wants to outsource the entire spectrum of their logistics. And this frees up resources, time, and organization capacity for them to invest elsewhere. I think that sort of goes back to the key objective or advantage of doing a 4PL model in the first place, where you can focus the organization's time on what you feel would be more strategic business building efforts for the company. And on the other side, when using a 4PL model, typically they are asset light. But what happens is that it brings in several advantages versus using individual 3PL models for different segments of services. So obviously, supply chain is a very interconnected service. It's not like one step is operating independent of the other. And flow of goods is as important as flow of information to make sure that the whole chain is running smoothly. So this is something which can be enabled a lot better by having a single control tower, so to speak, with a 4PL who can see this whole process end to end. So typically a 4PL is someone who can also bring technology, expertise, and ability to scale the overall service together with the more day-to-day management of the 3PLs as well. So that's essentially the advantage of going to a 4PL. Of course, there are situations where if you're looking at only saying a proportion or a portion of the business would go to an outsourced party, or there is a requirement for very tight controls, maybe due to some internal requirements within a company, there might be disadvantages to going to a 4PL. But again, broadly speaking, optimizing, delivering value across the entire supply chain, full visibility of information, as well as being able to bring in technology and expertise from a 4PL offer distinct advantages. So yeah, I think this is still capturing a little bit about what I talked, but in more detail. Again, the steps you can see on the left. So it is a very interconnected process, step by step, and on top of the flow of goods, the flow of information is a crucial aspect of running this whole thing smoothly. And I think especially in a market like Indonesia, there is still a large segment of the market where there's opportunity to implement IoT or technology or better systems of information flow, as Harry was talking about. And this is definitely a push from the government side as well. The push on technology is to enable visibility, data capture, and creating a learning system which will allow this supply chain to operate a lot more smoothly, be it in terms of inventory and stock management across the different steps, identifying redundancies, be it in terms of people or process, which can allow for further optimization. Increasing the speed at which goods flow through the supply chain, which becomes more and more crucial with the continued growth of e-commerce in Indonesia. So all of these are highly dependent on having a well-integrated supply chain or network across these different steps. So again, this is also bringing in room for 4PLs to play in the market, because 3PL, who typically looks at one segment of the logistics or supply chain alone, does not have both the visibility or the end-to-end expertise across a variety of services like warehousing, trucking, shipping, etc., to be able to create this kind of solution for any manufacturer or company. So that is like, especially again, like I said, in Indonesia, the trend of both increasing adoption of technology and internet, increasing demand from a customer standpoint, be it more types of goods, more locations, faster deliveries, etc., will push companies to adapt to this a lot quicker, and that's what would be a measure for success. Now, moving ahead a little bit to give you a couple of examples of how this works. So this is based on Shipper's own experience with a couple of clients. Again, the clients will not be named here. But effectively, one major, like it's a multinational FMCG company, had issues with covering the distribution of their product from their centralized warehouses to the retail outlets, which are covering a large portion of the market. So, and this involves a variety of services in play. One, goods pickup from factory, which is usually done by trucking. It involves warehousing, storage, and fulfillment. It involves fleet operations to manage delivery to its end customers. It involves payments or financials in terms of cash on delivery collection, since that's actually a big need for a lot of retail outlets in Indonesia. So this created a relatively complex problem. And of course, all of this was needed with better SLA and cheaper cost. So they came to us and we built a model of operation with, again, as a combination of shippers' own services as well as third-party logistics coordination, which would allow them to have distributed hubs across strategic areas and last mile delivery operating around those areas, which would enable like a faster or seamless process of delivery, allowed for 2x faster delivery time, increased transparency, especially when it comes to handling cash, reduce fraud, etc. Another example I wanted to cover. So this is for like a F&B company. Mainly their requirement is to sell beverages, packaged beverages across a large network of retail stores. So again, the crucial part of the challenge here is that because it's an F&B product, there are very strict requirements. For example, we have BPOM in Indonesia, which has certain standards that F&B needs to meet. There's halal requirements. In addition, of course, consumer quality is important in terms of temperature, humidity, etc., that need to be met. So again, set up a similar structure here, where I think the focus was being able to set up multiple warehousing solutions across 5 cities in Indonesia within a span of 2 to 3 weeks. And this was enabled because Shipper as a 4PL, we have a network of partners and 3PLs that we work with, which enable us to put together solution in a very quick way for this company to go to market. So just, I think last couple of minutes, I'll cover a little bit about Shipper. Yeah, we've been in business for around 4+ years now. We've recently raised around 60 million in Series B funding. Our vision is to be one of the leading end-to-end logistics solutions providers in Indonesia and enable all of the logistics operation through a full technology stack. We currently have one of the largest networks of warehouses and 3PL delivery partners across the country. Yeah, so this is sort of covering the full spectrum of services. Again, we do it as a combination of a 3PL model and a 4PL model, where depending on what the client wants, it's flexible in terms of how they want to operate with us. Broadly, again, talking a little bit about the coverage, pretty much national at this point, with an especially focused on Java and Sumatra, which again is where the majority of Indonesia's GDP is coming from. The last point which I want to touch upon a little bit, and I think this is what for me really is necessary and sets a company apart as a 4PL, is the ability to bring in the utilization of technology to be able to solve for problems in logistics and supply chain. So at Shipper, we invest in product first, or we invest in technology, so that when we set up our operations and solutions and offerings for our clients, there is always a clear tracking, visibility, monitoring, and analytics component involved as part of that service. Because again, there is a lot of clients who come to us They have issues when it comes to visibility of data and managing SLAs to their customers, or they have lack of transparency on where optimization can happen in their supply chain, or they have a lot of back office capability or finance and accounting processes involved around the management of invoicing, cash, financials, and like manual documentation. So again, all of these are areas where technology fixes are crucial. So this, I think, is necessary for any 4PL, and I think this is something that we at Shipper especially prioritize, bringing in technology solutions to be able to create scaled services for the clients that we work with. Yeah, so I think that broadly covers a little bit about the company, and you can see here like our in 2021 we have been recognized in quite a few places, like the Business Indonesia Awards for our co-founder Budi, who is currently our COO, and he was been with us since like the very beginning, as well as like a top startup in Indonesia from LinkedIn as well. I think that covers what I wanted to talk about. So over to you, Wilson.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rama. It's very, again, very enlightening to see how the landscape and how Shipper as one of the players in this segment really can help the businesses. So let us go through the questions. We have some questions from the live audience. I'd like to go with Kogila Krishnan first. So he asking about the difference of for 4PL, but I think it's already covered in the slides. But he also asking, which is a very good question, like if total outsourcing mean that the company lose control of the operations, knowledge, and will become totally dependent on the external party. So this will be a risk, right? So maybe I can ask Pak Hari and also Ramat, how do you see this kind of risk and how the companies can handle it? Maybe Pak Hari first.
Okay, let me try to answer this. Yeah, first of all, we need to agree on with the KPI, the SOP and KPI beforehand. Yeah, everything must be stated in agreement as the standard term and condition. And then we are using what's called the event management or dashboard that can easily see its process, yeah, and its stages and how it's the result of its process. Yeah, understood that. We are losing the control, but we need to agree on beforehand. Yeah, what kind of KPI that we agreed before, like our service level agreement. That's from me.
Yeah, just adding on, I think what Pahari is saying is usually the best way to do it. So there is, of course, like cases where companies would not want to give up full control of their supply chain as well, right? It happens in cases. Broadly speaking, though, again, at the end of the day, a 4PL is not someone who is an internal company resource. They are external to the company who contracts the 4PL. So, of course, there will be performance criteria involved in that. I think it's like if you think about the way most FMCGs, for example, sell in Indonesia today, a lot of them work with distributors. Ultimately, distributors are like someone who the companies are reliant on, and they do not have direct control over distributors, but they do have ways to set KPIs, partnership SLAs, and measure how people do on that. So again, the role of 4PL, as long as it's what you want is an outcome is clear as a company or a level, and it's aligned between the company as well as a 4PL, that model should still work. It's just important to set those in the right way from the beginning.
Okay, great. So let's move on to the next questions from Syed Faisal, independent e-commerce logistic consultant from Malaysia. So he is asking, like, what are your thoughts? Will asset-based or non-asset-based companies will win the logistics market within Indonesia and also globally? And he also have the second question, whether Shipper offers service on importer of record to import into Indonesia. So maybe on the first question, Pak Hari can also share your perspective, Pak.
Okay, for globally, for sure, to the best of my knowledge and experience, the non-asset base will win the competition. Yeah, because they don't have fixed fixed cost. Yeah, they are just dealing with the variable cost. That for sure. But for the local market or domestic market, somehow the asset base will win. Yeah, depending on the situation, depending on the industry itself. Thank you.
So one thing I would like to add, I think it depends on the context of the industry, especially in the local market standpoint. So it's like if you think of the equation between supply and demand for that particular type of service. Let's say we take trucking as an example. The supply versus demand becomes crucial. If there is an excess of supply in the market versus the demand that's present for it, there is more room or opportunity for a non-asset based player to create like more of an aggregator model and drive demand. Whereas if you look at a space where there is a lack of supply, I mean, just as an example, on cold storage. So when there is a lack of supply, but there's a growth or higher level of demand versus the supply, there is more opportunity to win for asset-based players. So I think it depends on the context as well. But yeah, like Harry said, I think in general, for markets where especially there is growing demand for multiple types of logistics services, there is room to operate as asset-based. One thing I would like to add, I mean, like logistics is not, in my view at least, a market where there's just room for one or two large players to operate. I think given the variety of requirements and the diversity of types of clients, there is opportunity for both asset-based and non-asset-based players to operate in the market. So I don't think it's necessarily a win or lose kind of scenario between asset and non-asset players within the market either.
Yep. And maybe Rama, you can add about the whether shipper offer services on the importer of record.
Yeah, sure. We can take the question offline as well. Happy to reach out. We focus, I would say, the majority of our services on the domestic market. Import services is something we can work on, but it's dependent on the type of goods and what is the locations that we're working with, etc. So I think we would need to get into more details on this to figure out more. I mean, Wilson can maybe share my LinkedIn or email or something. You can reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss further on this.
Yep, we'll share it in the chat after this. So we have another couple of questions from Tim Patterson. This is for Pahari. He said that I don't see climate change and fuel or energy equipment use transformation as one of your hot issues over the next 3 years. So what are your views on the impact of NDCs that Indonesia need to meet in the coming years? Thank you.
Yeah, tough question because truly speaking, yeah, environment or sustainability in supply chain, yeah, Pak Rama is laughing now. Maybe it's not an issue in Indonesia currently because it is still not our priority. What we need in Indonesia is to grow. Yeah, so we need to select which one that we need to do right now. Yeah, it's all or it's kind of trade-off. Yeah, we understand the customer demand right now. They demand they demand faster and smaller lot. Yeah, by having that, meaning that we need to increase our frequency of delivery. By increasing the delivery, meaning that yeah, we cannot talk about environment, yeah, because there's a lot of motorcycles in Jakarta's road, yeah, just to deliver a very small package to the customers. Yeah, that's our problem. Yeah, high frequency. Of course, the cost of the delivery is higher. We use a lot of packaging. Yeah, the packaging. I mean, there is no original or regular packaging that is set up by manufacturing because very often they deconsolidate, they break back, and they repack with other packaging. Yeah, so you can see that how many materials that they are using. But in some logistic service provider or logistic players, what they are doing right now is to do the sharing facility. Yeah, sharing facility as well as the sharing warehouse space, sharing transportation. Yeah, in order that we can decrease the space or decrease the vehicle or the fleet that we are using. Yeah, in other words, we are going to reduce the pollution. But truly speaking, the pollution or environmental is not still there. Yeah, in our Indonesian mindset. Yeah, because what we need currently is to improve from our totally disasters because of the pandemic and so on. Yeah. So again, yeah, I'm sorry. We are very sorry that probably in the next 3 or 4 years, government need to think about that, yeah, and we need to be more involving in global crisis, global climate, to what we call it, to be inserting the carbon print fee and so on, yeah, because if you are imposed with that, yeah, with the carbon print fine, maybe like China, yeah, China will suffer a lot because China is one of the biggest carbon emission in the world.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you. And it will be another hot topics, Pak Harry, if we're talking about like green logistics in the future. But this is a very interesting area as well that we can touch. Okay, so we have the last questions, and we still have time. So I would encourage the other participant, if you still have some questions, you can type it in the box. Now, the last one is from Rifai. How do we drive the SME, so the small players, to use 4PL services when the business scale is relatively small and they only focus on the day-to-day operation instead of the overall supply chain? What is your strategy to get them to utilize 4PL services? I think this is something that Pak Hari can also share a little bit, and then Rama can give the perspective of shipper in supporting SMEs.
Okay, for the players or what is it, customers or whoever that have very small volume, for sure that they need to accumulate, they need to consolidate the volume with the 4PL, because 4PL can easily gather all the volume from other parties, other consumer, in order that by having the volume higher, so we can press down the cost and the price. And for sure, the service is getting moderate. Yeah, we cannot demand faster service because of that. Yeah, but I think that also a win solution for the SMEs to use the 4PL starting from now. Yeah, so no need to wait too long. Okay.
Just to add, I think again, my experience at Shipper is when you are a small company who is still in growth phase, I mean, growth is still your number one priority. Yes, it's important to manage the day to day, but at many times, like a lot of clients who come to work with us, they come to us because it's a very easy model of scaling or expanding beyond their initial footprint. Pahari was talking about in the last question, like the shared warehouse model or shared transport models, etc. These are something we do offer at Shipper as well. So it's a relatively low cost, no fixed upfront investment way for smaller companies to expand their footprint. Say, startup in Jakarta wants to go into Surabaya and Medan. Going through a 4PL model who already has the infrastructure set up in those cities is an easy way for them to scale up their operation. So even if they are still focused, even if their scale is small, and they are still focused on like day-to-day things, no small company is going to say no to expanding and growing. And that's another area where 4PLs can help.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rama. Now we have another 2 questions, but I think because of the timing, this would be the last 2 questions that the speakers can answer. But maybe because we're talking about SME, there's another question related on this by Didi. As you might already know, SME is a huge market in Indonesia, and one of my companies is established to serve SMEs by meeting sellers and buyers in order to empower the unsung heroes of Indonesian economy. Now, his question is, has Shipper obtained government support such as the Ministry of Cooperative and SMEs in order to become an excellent 4PL players?
The answer is, I think we do have a department within Shipper that's dedicated to working with and partnering with the government at different levels. So there are projects that we have already completed. I cannot go into details here due to, again, it's our own confidential client information. But yes, cooperating partnerships with especially logistics side of governmental organizations and DUMN is something that we constantly do at Shepherd. So cross utilization of systems, joint partnerships on transport and warehousing operations. These are all things that we do work on together. I cannot disclose all the details here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rama. So the last questions, this is for both of you. I'm Yin Yin, Head of Supply Chain Premium Distribution Group, Myanmar. So what is the main challenges in Indonesia and how to manage the transportation costs? I think this is a kind of macro, yeah. So I think Pak Hari can start and then Rama can add.
Okay, let me read. Okay, yeah. As I mentioned in the slide before, truly speaking, the problem in Indonesia in terms of transportation first is geography. Yeah, geography, and we have so many so many islands. And then secondly, the imbalance flow of goods. Yeah, that create problem because we send in full and we return in empty. Yeah, so the cost of transportation must be borne by one customers. That also create a high cost. And I don't know what it's called. Yeah, some local players, some big local players enjoy the facility given by government. Yeah, therefore we cannot demand a fair cost for transportation. Yeah, unfortunately, it happens because of the islands, so many islands, and we rely on them pretty much. Yeah, particularly for the local shipping line that cover the intersular. Yeah. So how to overcome that? Of course, we need to have the balanced flow of goods. Yeah, we need to encourage its provinces to set up or to build up their own production, their own results. So in order that they can send in full back to Java, and also we need to open some hubs, some ports around beside Jakarta and Surabaya, like in Bitung, North Sulawesi, or North Sumatra, Belawan. Yeah, and empower them to be the international port. Yeah, so we can have a good balance of flow of goods. That's from me.
Yeah, echoing what Harry said, I think developing the infrastructure is definitely a major policy push, I think, from the government side as well, because this is definitely needed to bring down the logistics cost of operation within Indonesia. I think in the meantime, as like for a specific company that wants to start the operation within Indonesia, for example, I think it depends. Like again, 4PL is one of the solutions, since there are relatively less fixed costs or upfront investment required when you are working through dedicated logistics players within the market. So instead of setting up a logistics and supply chain by a manufacturer or by themselves, which will require these kind of investments in people, capital, processes, going through and outsourcing it to a third party who already has the setup of assets and can utilize those assets better might prove a more cost efficient way of entering into the market and managing the costs.
Okay, so I hope everyone's enjoying the discussions. Unfortunately, the time has up for us. So, I mean, I would like to say thank you again for BritCham, for Pak Hari, for Rama, for the session. So maybe just to give a little bit summary that because our topic is talking about the role of 4PL, right? So basically, what we have heard and seen is that these are the emerging technologies in front of us that really can help to businesses to integrate their logistics services. Of course, there are some trade-off, but we've seen, at least through Shipper's experience, that Shipper can really help to make it and streamline the logistics to be more efficient. So companies can spend more time in dealing with their operations or their marketing or their sales instead of just handling the supply chain, because I think Pak Hari knows a lot of it, that it is a complex issue and it will be a waste for a company that doesn't have the core experience in trying to do supply chains. So before we end, I'd like to give a little bit for Pak Harry and Rama for some closing statement. Go ahead, Pak.
Okay, first. Okay. Yeah. Once again, let us use the facility. Let us use the opportunity that has been in front of us. Yeah, like the 4PL. Yeah, if you don't go to the 3PL, you can go directly to the 4PL, because that's also one of our way to do the efficient logistic. Yeah. Instead of we are building or we are making our own logistic division that is costly, and we don't know yet the problem. We don't know yet the weaknesses, the challenges in front of us in Logistic Indonesia. So we better leave it or surrender to the party that really understand how to run the business, especially in supply chain and Logistic Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, from my end, again, thank you everyone for attending for our sessions as well. Like Harry was saying, I think we are seeing a significant opportunity within the Indonesian logistics context for the 4PL method of operation. Again, enabling flow of not just goods, but also the flow of information, connecting steps, and making sure things are working more smoothly. So yeah, I mean, if you are facing challenges, be it in terms of expanding or be it in terms of spending organization capacity on non-strategic tasks for the company, etc., this could definitely be a good solution for your company to explore as well. And again, please, you can get in touch through Wilson, or you can email me directly if there's any further questions you have as well. Thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Wilson, Pak Hari, and Rama as signing off. So we hope you have a good day ahead of you. So thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.